How do you brand yourself today? Kind of your thoughts about
Yeah.
that.
No, I love this. So, when I started on this path to understand myself, I never expected to become an expert in hybrid professional identity. I mean, who does that? What is that? And what I've learned since I've started this work is I'm working between career development, personal branding, and identity research. That's how I'm shaping my thinking and theories. So the personal branding world really connects to hybridity. And they say, if you talk to a personal branding specialist, they would say, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room, right? It's how you make them feel and all these kind of verbal, nonverbal cues and your image. And so when you are someone like you and I both are, who quote unquote, we wear a lot of hats, and sometimes we're showing up as the speaker, the author, the podcaster, we know that that's not all of us. And so, in order to be seen the way you want people to see you, you have to figure out how to tell the story of how do all these different hats fit together? Who am I really? What is my truest expertise? Because you're not just a coach, right? Everybody's got that title anymore.
Yeah.
So, the trick that I find is when you do this Venn diagram and you really dig into your intersections, you are an expert of your hybridity. Your hybridity is the brand. So, when you can define what that hybridity is for you, that's how you can brand yourself. So, in my case, when I, connect and work between the artist, educator, researcher, designer identities, I'm a creative disruptor. And what that means is that I radically create new innovation strategies to support people and organizations and connect them with ideas. And then I can give examples of how the artist and the educator and so forth perform that. So there's sort of an elevator pitch that I have on my website that walks people through this three-part intro of, start with declaring yourself and then break yourself down into the parts, but then explain the connection between your different parts. And that is defining your brand, essentially. It works really well for people.
So you just went a lot further in explaining brand than I've heard from most people, right?
Okay.
Most people talk about brand being how you make people feel or
Hmm.
what they say about you, as you said earlier, when you're not in the room. It's about the images that you use and the way your Instagram looks and, all that kind of stuff. Right. And
Yeah.
I think those are all components of a personal brand, but you just described it as much more, to me, is much more of an internal thing, right? That then you take and you put externally. But I do believe you have to, whether you want to believe it or not, you have a brand. And we
Absolutely.
all have a brand.
We
And
do.
yeah, and how we amplify that brand, I think says a lot about us. But I think it's also important that we need to know what that brand
Yeah.
is,
Yeah, being
right?
able to define and articulate who you are and why you do what you do is the name of the game. And the tools that I've created and tested with people, that's really what my power is because I find most people sound like a confusing list of things and they literally don't know how to package it or say it succinctly or make sense of who they are.
Mm.
So, this work, I mean, you and I've mentioned it a few times already, it starts with a lot of deep self reflection of who are you? Who are you really? When you do X, I say skills are not identities. Just because you do podcasting and mentoring and coaching and sales, you may not call yourself a mentor or a salesperson. So
Mhm.
we have to actually get to this idea of who you really are to explain why you do what you do.